Thanks for joining us today, Ryan and Tom. Happy to have you on board. I'd love to just start with a quick introduction about yourself, any background you want to share, and then your role in your company. So Tom, I'll start with you.
Sure. I am the president of ASI Incorporated. We are a full-service telecommunications and security company. We pretty much do anything low voltage, any type security, any type communications. Been doing it for myself since 1995 and have been in the business since 1990. I am an old dog that didn't really want to learn new tricks, so the last few years have been a challenge, but I've also realized that when you jump on board with it, it opens up areas that you did not have to in the past, sources of being able to provide service to customers and revenue as well. So just an old school telephone guy that's been drug into the IP world kicking and screaming.
Welcome.
Yeah.
Yeah, very much welcome. I'm Ryan Henley. I'm the Chief Revenue Officer here at NUSO. And as most of you know, we provide a cloud communications platform, and we go to market solely through wonderful partners like ASI. So Tom, thank you so much for being here today and for being an incredibly great part of that ecosystem of partners. So thanks very much for your time today.
And thanks for a little bit of an intro about ASI. I am curious about the security products and services that you provide. So does that really range from kind of full digital in the cloud software securities all the way to lock boxes or physical hardware, or what do you mean by security services?
So we provide like security systems, camera systems, access control, Firebird, that kind of stuff. No, we don't do anything, don't provide any cybersecurity or any of that kind of stuff, don't do lock boxes, but we help secure the places that do those things. This was originally a security company. I brought the telecom into it in 1995. The business actually started in 1972, so it's been around for a long time. My original partner I had worked with in the telecom field, and he broke away, bought a security company, and then I joined him a year later. And that's kind of where we are with ASI. Anything low voltage, we pretty much do, from camera systems to access control, to sound systems, to anything that runs on low voltage cable. We pretty much we have something to go on the end of that cable.
Interesting. Did the original alarm system customers kind of push everybody into the communications and other kind of low voltage wiring things, or was it did you and your partner recognize that, hey, we can do both of these things and serve people? So it was customers or more market driven?
It was more career driven. It was one of those things. I was working for a small integrator. We called them interconnects back in the day. You guys might know what that are or what those are. But anyway, I was working for a small one. It was a little small family-owned business, run like a family-owned business. I never had this desire to be a business owner. It just was one of those things kind of forced on me. I had worked for the guy for 5 years, and he was getting to about my age now, so he was ready to think about hanging it up. So I went into him one day just to kind of see what the future held, and he had a son that worked in the business, and he said that he was going to turn the business over to his son, and I realized that didn't leave me anywhere. So my friend Tim, my original partner, had worked with us at the same company. He said, look, we want to do telephone systems. Come over here, join me, and we'll put this thing together. So it was kind of one of those things that happened more happenstance than anything that was planned.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. And that's 1995, and then you said the company from 1972. That's incredible. Yeah. And congrats.
Well, thanks. Or condolences, however you want to. Depends on the day.
Well, you've obviously been able to keep customers happy for many, many years.
Well, and that's the whole key to any business, is making sure that at the end of the day, the most important thing is not making money. Making money is a byproduct of making sure you take care of the people that want to give you their money.
Yeah, amen. That's a great way to look at it. It's exactly how we should all be thinking about it.
Speaking of customers, can you tell us a little bit about the businesses that you serve, whether that be the type of businesses or the stage of business that they're at, or just tell us a little bit about your client base?
Our client base is, well, now, thanks to NUSO, some smaller accounts that we never had access to get into in the telecom world, up to companies that I'm in a relatively small market. I'm in the Tupelo, Mississippi market. Probably the biggest account here may have 300 or 400 phones, but the bulk of our business is probably in the 4 phone to 10 phone market. That's 80% of our business.
Yeah, it's it's a fun market to be in, I think, because as I was even just driving around today and I was looking around at all the different small businesses, we talk about Microsoft. You look at the news, you see Microsoft, you see Apple, you see Google, you see, all the big names, but all you have to do is walk out your door and there are small businesses everywhere. And it's been our pleasure to be a part of their digital transformation as those folks are continuing to try to go do the good work that they do, doing, whatever it is, whatever service that they're providing, but also, needing to have some technology support with that as well. So it's a ripe market for sure.
It is.
How do you market yourself in Tupelo, Mississippi? Are you is it all kind of local advertising? Do you find any success in radio advertising, digital marketing? Any insight you can share?
Well, I don't know if it was J.C. Penney or one of those guys that made the comment that half of his marketing budget was wasted. He just didn't know which half.
Right.
So we do a little bit of everything. We're doing a lot more social media. As a matter of fact, I went and did a radio program this morning into a market that literally for 28 years I've not been able to get into because there were some really good players there. It was not a big pond, but there were some big fish in it, and they took good care of their customers. No matter how much money we threw at advertising, it didn't do us any good. But those guys, through attrition, have gotten old, and they're doing other things. And so we're trying to pick up those pieces because even though we're a 30-year-old company, we're still wanting to grow. We want to get to the next level. And so that's where we are. We do a little bit of everything. I do radio, have done TV in the past, actually did a Super Bowl commercial one year. And everybody's like, oh my God, how did your company afford that? We bought a leftover spot on a local TV channel for $500.
Wow.
So, everybody's like, if ASI can advertise on the Super Bowl, we want to do business with them. Well, you don't tell everything you know. But we found that radio does seem to work. We've just signed a new contract with some new social media guys to make sure our SEO is in place, that you can find us so we can compete with the Ring Centrals and the Nextivas and the 8x8s and all these guys. So, you're at least finding us. And being a local company, we speak pretty redneck in Mississippi, and everybody listening's already figured that out. But when you're trying to get support, you want somebody else that you can at least understand. And that's what we try to bring to the table, is making sure that the customers are, taken care of. If there's an issue and somebody has to speak to somebody in India, it's us instead of them. Yeah,
that's a great point. I would imagine that a lot of your business comes from referrals and word of mouth as well. Even despite all the best efforts on advertising, back to the 50% is wasted, you just don't know which half.
Exactly.
I would imagine that even with that, your strongest and probably most longest lasting customers came from a referral from someone else.
Absolutely. Myself and my general manager are both in a chapter called BNI, Business Networking International. If you guys have heard of them, it's a great organization, very structured. Don't allow competitors in the same room, and we do that. But, the big thing is we've just been in business for, almost 30 years. People know who we are. Either they like us or they don't, and we have way more that do than don't.
Just earlier, before we engaged in this interview, you were sharing that about 6 months ago, you kind of started experimenting or moving into the cloud space. And that is clearly an interesting topic for NUSO. So I'm just curious to hear about your experience and what really pushed you into cloud and what that even means. So if you're entering the cloud space, like what does that mean for your business, and how has that changed your day-to-day and the offerings that you have for your customers?
Well, to answer that question, we've got to go back to 1996.
Okay.
we started selling Samsung phone systems. And it was a great product line for us. We sold Samsung all the way through 2018. And we'd had a good relationship with those guys. But my sales rep, who had been calling on me for, I don't know, probably 10 years, called me up and said, "Hey, I've gotten fired." I'm like, "Okay, what'd you do this time?" But he said, "No, you don't understand. Samsung has let everybody go. They let all the outside reps go, and they kept one sales engineer." So we started thinking, okay, so what is this looking like for us? Because I did not want to get into the IP world at all. Samsung had their proprietary offering called the SCM that absolutely fell on its face. It was they tried to build their own technology and their own coding rather than doing the smart thing and using the asterisk basis. And we just had a really bad taste in our mouth about it. Plus, we're all telephone guys. We like POTS lines. We like having a digital phone system. We like hanging a phone on it. That phone knows it's a phone when you plug it up. It's not like in the IP world where you plug it in, it goes, "Okay, I don't know what I am. You got to tell me." So we fought it hard, but we wanted to find another line to get us through really and truly probably 2025, because I would be 65 and I'd be able to kind of walk away from it and I didn't have to learn all this other technology. So unfortunately that didn't happen. We realized in 18 and we picked up a product called ASI, and they had an old legacy product and they guaranteed us it was going to be a good product until 2025. And so that's what we did. Well, we realized about a year into that we were literally, we wasn't doing the company or our customers any favors. So we started doing the SIP trunks and putting a prem-based system. And we're in a small market, and in about 3.5 years, we sold 160 systems. And so needless to say, the other SIP service provider loved us. We were the third largest dealer for ESI in the country. So, you know, it was a good marriage. We drew a line in the sand and said, from this day forward, we're going to do the IP stuff. So, you know, my guys, they're all like me. They're not young, but they're not ready to quit. So we just realized we had to do it. I wish more people would embrace that. But what it did is it got us to a point to where we could provide things to customers we couldn't do in the past. The feature set that comes with cloud or prem-based using SIP trunks is so far superior. And I realized that this was what was best long-term for ASI and the folks that are willing to give me their money. We were just doing prem-based systems really until about a year ago. And we had a couple of customers who just didn't want to spend the money. So, and we had migrated from our other SIP carrier to NUSO. And so we just started tinkering around with the cloud a little bit with the cloud systems. And I don't know, we're probably up to, we've probably done 30 or 40. I don't know how many we've done with you guys, but it's been a good move because in the past, if you had a $4,000 phone system for 2 phones, customers can't afford it. Or, you know, if you're that small a business, and when you can go in for what they were paying for dial tone and give them a phone system, oh gosh, I mean, everybody wins in that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that initial outlay, especially as we were talking before about small businesses and the size of some of those small businesses, 4, 5, 6 seats. That's a huge chunk of money going out the door that you're not using for something that's going to build a business or even worse, paying your mortgage. So to be able to take that and amortize it out over time, and also at the same time upgrade some of the capabilities that you're providing is that's a huge benefit. Well,
and we really did not have any intentions of getting into the cloud business. I will tell you that. We were I can show you spreadsheet after spreadsheet where I showed people why they shouldn't do cloud. It's going to cost you too much. It's going to, you know, I can cost justify if it's more than 3 or 4 phones why you shouldn't do it. But I got to thinking about it. If 70% of the systems sold now nationwide are cloud-based, and that's from a 2-phone system to a 2,000 phone system, everybody can't be wrong. So I had to restructure my thinking to think, okay, let's figure out how to make this work rather than fight against it. Mm-hmm. And we still do both. I mean, we do the hybrid systems where we bring SIP trunks in and sell the hardware. And there are times when that's the best fit, and there's times when the cloud's the best fit. But what I like about us is that we can go into a customer, figure out what they need, and sell it to them.
Yeah, we certainly see that. It's not an either or thing.
No.
There is a migration where then there's some steps in between from everything on premise to everything in the cloud. There are some, on premise PBX with a SIP trunk. That's kind of a mix of cloud and on premise work. And then, and you can kind of step your way into those online collaboration suites. You don't have to go. You don't have to jump off the deep end of the pool.
Well, if we had to go straight from the old stuff that we did to the cloud, we would have never made the switch. As it was, we saw the value of SIP trunks, and we saw what that did compared to regular dial tone, plain old telephone service. And then we were able to cost justify that. And then we realized that, hey, even at that, there's still places where this complete cloud solution makes sense. And so, our business now is probably about like the industry standard. We're probably 70% cloud. Now, my equipment provider on the other side of the house is not happy with me at all. They also provide a cloud platform, but I'd had such a good relationship with you guys that I wasn't even interested.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much for saying that. It's kind of you to say. We've enjoyed our relationship as it's grown over the years, certainly as well. The other thing that occurs to me too is that I would imagine that this all coincides with the expansion of broadband access as well. So as broadband becomes easier, cheaper, more accessible in outside of the NFL cities. So when you get into Tupelo and further afield from Tupelo, that access opens up a lot more opportunity as well for other kind of cloud-based products.
Yeah, there's no question.
So it'll be really interesting as we go forward, and 5G starts to wireless 5G starts to make its way out and beyond the kind of the city centers and become almost the replacement for any sort of wireline internet that. Whether it be fiber or copper, it'll be it's going to open up even more opportunity, I think.
Well, the only good thing that I can see in North Mississippi that came out of COVID is the government threw so much money at people to put in a fiber backbone that we had people in rural Mississippi with 300 people that had better internet access than people in downtown Tupelo, which is about a 50,000 town. So nothing good other than that, but it really did open up avenues for us to be able to go out and do what we do in areas that we couldn't have.
Yeah. It's hard to say that anything good happened out of it, but definitely there was an acceleration of technology in a number of different places. Yeah, that we felt. Yeah, it's again hard to say something good came out of it, but at least there's that, I guess.
70% jump to cloud services over the last year-ish is pretty significant. So that also tells me that ASI just has not only the ability to adapt to new technologies, but to move pretty quickly and serve clients in the ways that they are asking to be served. So that's pretty awesome to hear. I do just want to hear a little bit more about your perspective of ASI and NUSO's relationship. Like, how did we get started? You've now mentioned a few times that we've been able to help you in a few areas, and that both of us feel like the partnership has been pretty meaningful to both companies. So what was your experience like joining NUSO, and how has it evolved over time?
Well, Sharon is my rep. And she reminded me of this and reminds me pretty regular that I would not talk to her for about the first 10 years that she called me, because she was working, I guess, with Sotel. And, we had relationships with some other wholesalers to buy our Samsung product. And when Samsung did away with everybody in 2018, a fellow by the name of Bill Lindsay, who had been my rep for 10 years, went to work for Sotel. He calls me up and I'm instantly starting to do business with him. And she reminds me of that I wouldn't do business with her, but I did business with Bill. So, but anyway, we just kind of started. We had used, because we were Samsung partners, they had a preferred vendor for their SIP trunks. And they had that was just our familiarity. And when we started making the change to the to SIP trunks, we used those guys. And then Sharon kept hounding me, and I mean that in the best kind of way. Not hounding me, pushing me to at least try your product. And we tried it, and it worked phenomenally well. And the other company that we were using got bought out by another company, and then we're dealing with tech support that once again doesn't speak redneck. And so it was just a good move. And since we've gone to the NUSO, we've had like zero trouble. It seemed like with the other SIP trunk provider, I spent half of my life. The product worked great, but their billing department could mess up a one-car parade. And so I'm spending all my time that I should be dealing and taking care of customers, making their lives better, fixing a problem that I didn't have any control over. Yeah. And we've not had that issue at all with NUSO, knock on wood. The billing has been spot on every time. It's just been a good relationship, and I see it moving forward with more and more business down the road.
Well, thanks, Tom. One of the things that I don't want to ever lose as we grow in NUSO is the human touch. The ability to reach out and talk to a human being who understands your situation, who understands, the importance of it, doesn't diminish it, you don't get kind of lost in the machine. I don't ever want to lose that because it's, my family backgrounds are small businesses. I appreciate that those small businesses and, mid-sized businesses, they're all about putting food on the table for the people that own the business and for the people that are working in that business. And if their phones aren't ringing, their text messages aren't coming through, they're not making money, and that impacts people's lives. So I take every opportunity I can to make sure that everybody internally understands that this is not just a ticket. It's not just a phone problem. It's not just a bill. This is somebody's livelihood.
Absolutely.
And we have to take that obligation seriously. And it sounds like you've approached it from the same perspective. So I hope we never lose that.
Well, and if we do, we need to do something else.
We need to find something else to do. That's right.
Well, I'm glad that the partnership between ASI and NUSO has continued to go well over the years. I know that we've had several mutual clients that we've successfully onboarded and worked through issues together. If we ever encounter them outside of our control. But Tom, I'm just curious, do you have any kind of use case that comes to mind or a success story that we've had working together?
Yeah, and like I said earlier, the big thing is that by using NUSO, it's brought markets to me that I would never have been able to do, and that's in the smaller market. Just these guys that have 2 or 3 phones that need to look like a real business, and they are a real business, but they need to look like their competitors who are, monsters 40 times their size. We're able to go in and sell them state-of-the-art equipment at a price they can afford and give them the look that they want to. I just dealt with a local Habitat for Humanity. And, it's a great company, great organization, do good things, but they needed some help. And NUSO was a perfect fit for those guys. Now it's going to allow them to communicate with the people who want to give them money so they can do the things that they need to do to help people.
Yeah, I think it's a great point that the features inside of either the orange or the green platforms and the blue as well, we can give a company an appearance of being much broader than they are,
right.
And maybe from a customer experience perspective, give them the ability to treat customers in a way that a larger company has the capability of doing. But also, kind of bring that down to a small business level. Yeah, it's an important feature of the technology.
I think what you said is the key, and I've hired a new salesperson. That's what we're talking about, customer experience. Because really, we're not selling phones. We're selling an avenue for this person to communicate with who they need to communicate with to make their living or to do what it is they need to do. It's not just a piece of plastic on a desk. It's a livelihood. It's a connection to the people that want to give you money, essentially. And if you take care of those guys, they're going to remember you, because these 2 phone guys right now may be the 2,000 phone guys in years, and you want to be able to grow with them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
yeah. That sword has 2 edges to it too, doesn't it?
absolutely.
If you take care of them, they will remember that, and if you don't take care of them, they will remember that too.
They will remember that you didn't take care of them better than they remember that you did sometimes.
True.
And then they're
Very
going to
true.
tell everybody they know. So,
That is the old saying is definitely true about telling 5 people when you had a bad experience versus telling 1. It is definitely true.
I'll open the question to either Tom or Ryan, whoever wants to answer it, but I am curious your opinion on how the partnership between ASI and NUSO stacks up against other big name competitors, and what a mutual client would get with us versus going to a larger competitor.
right. Ryan?
For me, it's the relationships that we talked about. I can have as many salespeople that I want sitting in St. Louis behind phones. They are not going to develop the same relationships that you develop being in the market, no matter how nice they are or how wonderful they are. So to me, it's all about those relationships. And you may go into a business and you see a need, or that business has one need, but if you've got a whole portfolio of products that you can serve that are outside of the things that NUSO does, that's another huge benefit. So both from the business owner's perspective, now I've got one person I can go to. I can go to ASI and I can do multiple different things, only one of which NUSO has anything to do with. That's a huge benefit to me as a small business owner. So from both directions in that relationship is huge benefits.
One of the most frustrating and difficult things for us is to have customers, even if they're an existing customer, that gets sucked into the telemarketers. Because every single time we have to go back and straighten out what they did, because they see one little small piece of the puzzle. They don't see the whole picture. And yes, they may sell them something that looks like it saved them $200 a month on their phone bill, but in reality, they've cost them money, because we could have done it for $400 a month less. And now they're having to pay us, if we can, if they're not contractually obligated, to come back and straighten out messes. So it's all about relationships. And I just tell all my guys, I said, if somebody telemarkets you, it's going to benefit them, not necessarily you. So please be careful. We see it all the time where customers have signed 36-month agreements for stuff. The salesperson, they saw a little piece of the puzzle, but they didn't understand that what they just sold them wasn't going to work because of the way the customer's set up. And then we get involved, or somebody else has to get involved. I just wish customers would just call us, somebody local up front, and then we don't have to fight those battles. And NUSO's just like us. There are times we're not the best fit for a customer. And you got to know when there's better options. Mm-hmm. So I just wish people would understand that if they're calling you, they're not your friend.
I do only see, you made a good point. They only see one piece of the puzzle. The beauty of you being in the market and on site in a lot of cases is you can get an appreciation for how people work and how that organization's employees work, and then how their customers interact with them. Right. And then you can make a suggestion about what is the right technology to use. And it may or may not be NUSO, to your point, or it may not be, like I said, you've got a whole portfolio of things that you can offer them, but it's based around how their employees interact and how the customers interact. It's not based around some technology I'm trying to convince you to purchase.
Well, the thing about somebody that's calling you from one of the big box carriers, all they see is what you have now on paper, a phone bill, and what they have to offer you is maybe a lower phone bill, and their goal is to get keep those two numbers as close as possible to the same thing and get you to sign a contract. And once they sign the contract, you never hear from them again. When you're fighting battles, it makes everybody's life a lot more difficult. Unfortunately, that's from way too much experience of having to deal, and unfortunately, so many times they've gotten themselves into a mess they can't get out of.
Yeah.
Well, the biggest account we have to date, we lost first time we quoted them. So
I think it happens more often than not,
It's real funny. And once again, this isn't something that can go on tape, but we lost it. I shot the guy a little note and said, "Hey man, sorry we didn't get it. If we can ever help in the future, let us know." And about a year later, they expanded from a little small building into their first of 7 building projects. And we quoted him a phone system, sold it to him. And he said, "Do you know why I bought that phone system from you?" I'm like, "I don't have any idea why." He said, because that damn note you sent me. He said, "I thought if you do that much when you lost it, you'd take care of me if I was your customer."
See, it works. I know it
Just
works.
little personal things like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of benefit in that transformation we were talking about earlier in the conversation too. Like there's a lot of resistance to change, especially when it comes to technology and ultimately impacting the way that you're getting sales inquiries or closing deals. Like you don't want to mess with your customer's ability to inbound your business because a phone call is money in your pocket. So if there's decision makers out there, or if there are people who are just cloud curious, I will call it, who are just wondering how to enhance their communication methods for how to get in touch with their customers. Maybe they want to embed text messaging into the way that their customers reach out to them as well, and they're locked into an agreement and they can't get out of that agreement, but they want to add on some add-on cloud services, or they're curious as to how to cut POTS line costs. I don't, whatever their existing agreements are, like across the country, just the cost of POTS is skyrocketing. And so maybe people are saying, well, not right now, but maybe in 6 to 9 to 12 months, I'm really going to need to figure this out, and just kind of start with like conversations and education. Like you said, when the day comes, we'll be here for you, and just introducing the concept of something like a hybrid, where like this doesn't need to be a decision overnight. Nobody needs to do a rip and replace. We can help you through that if that's something you're interested in, but like incremental steps towards change, we can also help with that through some kind of hybrid situation.
Yeah, you mentioned POTS too. I think it's important to have in the back of our minds. It's not going to happen tomorrow, but there is an effort to sunset the legacy infrastructure that sits behind POTS. All the copper lines that sit in the ground, all the 26 paired cables, and the little, I forget what you call them, the stands that sit out on the what are those called? The cross connect boxes. Yeah. That's all expensive, and getting away from that is something that the large telcos would love to get rid of. So this is, and so that stuff's going to start going away. So there's a little bit of like, you got to get.
Yeah, and they've been mandated to do so. So at this point, even if the infrastructure still exists, I think like support will cease. And so going back to much of what we've been talking about, like things happen, problems exist. And so the ability to pick up a phone call and ask for support, if that goes away, like we're a little more motivated to make a change if we can't solve a problem when it pops up.
Well, the other thing I've seen too is money drives behavior, and the way they're doing it is right now, our local incumbent is AT&T, and they're $295 pre-contract for one phone line, and then you put taxes and fees and long distance, you're talking one line at $350. I mean, we can put in a system for less than that.
Mm-hmm.
So it just makes dollars and cents.
Yes. Yeah. You hate to only sell on price, but when the numbers speak for themselves, it's a valuable exercise to walk people through and just show them the math like you just did.
And we do. That's I never imagined at 64 years old I'd spend 80% of my life looking at phone bills, but that's really pretty much what I'm relegated to now. And we've kind of figured out most of them. We get a surprise every now and then, but they're not written so anybody can figure out what they're supposed to say.
Right.
They're written because they want you to pay them. They don't want you to question what you're paying. Just pay the dang bill.
Well, what's next for ASI?
Most of the guys that work here are 55 to 60, but I've got a couple of these, I call them my nerds, but they're my nerds. And they've pushed me toward the technology, realizing that that's what we needed to do. But what we found out is there's so many things with technology that allows us to serve our customers better. Prime example, I never imagined that a cell phone app would be a big deal. You know, I thought my customers are not going to buy into that. Well, come to find out they really do. When you can call from your cell phone and it show up the business caller ID, I'm not saying you're hiding behind your cell phone. You're not. But the bottom line is you're providing a service. Doctors, a lot of these guys are on call all the time, but they don't, because once they have your cell phone, you're done. And the other thing is if you travel and you need to get in touch, like if I'm gone and Wendy, our secretary, answers the phone, she can one touch send that call to my phone. I didn't realize how important that would be to my customers. That's what I love about my customers. I learn from them, it seems like every day, that there's something else that they need. And with the technology that we have available to us, we'll figure out a way to make it work.
Yeah, and enabling mobility is a big deal. So I think over the last few years, the concept of a remote worker was talked about a lot, just as a result of the pandemic. However, separate from that, you run a HVAC company, you have a plumbing business, whatever that may be, the ability for workers, boots on the ground, to have the ability on their mobile device to separate their personal mobile number from the business that they're either working for or involved in is incredibly relevant to businesses across the board, not just knowledge workers or folks that sit in front of their laptop all day long in their home. And so the ability to provide that kind of service is I think it's been important, but it is becoming more and more important.
And it's a little bit of seeing yourself in that comment, right? I was going to say exactly the same thing, Sully, is that when you read about the remote worker, and what the image that pops into people's minds is, it's the 29-year-old tech worker who's sitting at a laptop at their house. Well, okay, yes, that's a remote worker, but so is the HVAC technician, so is the plumber, so is the doctor who goes around and is working in multiple different hospitals. They're actually a remote worker for part of the time. You could just keep going and going and going. There are tons and tons of knowledge workers who we should consider remote workers because they're just representing the business outside of sitting at a desk.
Well, Tom, what are some of your ideas for how to grow your business? Are there any active campaigns or new products or outreach that you're going through right now to help build your client base?
Well, one of the things we're doing, and it came from a conversation with you guys a while back, is the fact that if your business doesn't have the ability to text, you're losing business. And I hadn't thought about the fact that somebody might actually be texting my number. They look at the number, it says, oh, it wasn't going, you couldn't go through. They go to Google and find the next company that they can. Because the younger generation, and I guess even me too, to extent, I never imagined that I would use texting in business at all, much less as much as it is. But if you're not texting from your business, you don't know how much business you're losing. But I was 35 when I started my business. Guys 35 now, they don't want to talk to you on the phone, or I say guys, people, they want to text you or shoot you an email. And if you don't have that ability, then you don't know how much business you're actually losing. So that's been a big focus for us, is to try to get people to get on board with the texting. We're working on it here. So it's just stuff like that we're trying to figure out, to wrap our hands around about how to take to market to benefit us and the customer. I love the fact that with the texting, it doesn't matter what your carrier is, who your carrier is, what your service is, what your phone system is. We can add it as an add-on product. And we kind of look at it as we get in and that goes well, then when it comes time for the phone system, then we can talk about dial tone, then we can talk about just wherever it leads from there. But, start out with the texting piece and let's make that a big focus of our business, because everybody's doing it, and kind of like 70% of the people buying hosted systems, 70% of the people can't be wrong. So
a little
Yeah.
plug for both of us, the business texting application that we can provide is also opt-in, opt-out compliant. So there's different automatic responses that can be triggered based on certain keywords. There's different rules that can be set based on time of day. Recognizing opt-in, opt-out both, and communications across the board is a very important topic for any kind of communications service provider. And so if, as a consumer, if I get a text message and I don't want it and I want to opt out, it's really important that whoever that business is that reached out to me honors that choice of mine. So the application that we can provide together does allow for and does keep those requirements in mind. So any small business is really day one ready to set up a texting application specific to their business through us.
Well, and the thing I found in the little bit of time I've spent with it, and we have sold it to a couple of clients, is that it's extremely affordable. I mean, there's really no reason not to do it. You know, you miss one sale a year and you've paid for 10 times what this marketing or what this texting campaign cost.
Right.
So.
Yeah, it's all about opening up channels to talk to customers. So in whatever way that they want to communicate with you, whether it's phone, email, text, opening up those channels and listening on those channels and being, ready to serve them based on whatever it is that they're looking for and making sure you're listening.
Absolutely.
So.
Agreed 1,000%. And I'd never thought about it until you guys said it when we had when we talked before, is that customers are texting your number.
Yes.
And, it just depends on, are you willing to?
Are you listening?
The things you take. Exactly. Are you willing to do what you need to so you can respond?
Well, I just want to say thank you both so much for participating and for chatting with me today. I definitely enjoyed the conversation, and I look forward to the next time we get together.
Yeah, Tom, we can't thank you enough for being here with us. It's been an exciting partnership, and I'm excited to hear how reinvigorated you are, kind of for the
Absolutely.
next chapter in the ASI story. And we're excited to work with you as you guys continue to grab additional customers and serve them well.
Guys, thank you so much.